All right, so are you ready to have your mind blown? Because today, we're taking a deep dive into 5 mind-blowing theories that could change reality.
We're talking about concepts that could seriously shift how you see the world.
Yeah, some seriously wild stuff. From like simulated universes to the idea that the future can actually change the past.
It's a deep dive into some real reality-bending concepts, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So, first up, we got to talk about the simulation hypothesis. Have you ever, just had this feeling that maybe we're all living in a video game?
Oh yeah, I think we've all had those moments.
Right. Well, this theory takes that feeling and just "Ooh," explodes it. It basically says that our reality is actually a super advanced computer simulation created by, well, a civilization way smarter than us.
Way more advanced, for sure. I mean, think about it. We're creating basic simulations now with our current tech.
Right.
So imagine what a civilization thousands or even millions of years ahead of us could do.
Right. Like it's almost inevitable that they'd reach a point where they could create something as complex as our reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, some pretty smart people take this theory seriously.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, one of the most vocal proponents is Elon Musk. He said that the odds of us not being in a simulation are, like, astronomically small.
Whoa, Elon Musk, huh? That's pretty wild. But if we are in a simulation, what does that even mean? Like, what's the real world outside of the program? Is there even a way to know?
Yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, philosophers have been wrestling with that kind of thing for centuries.
Right. And it brings up all these other questions, too, like free will. If we're just lines of code in someone else's computer, do we really have any control over our choices?
That's the big question, isn't it? And what happens if the simulation crashes? Like, do we all just blink out of existence?
Okay, now you're just trying to freak me out. But seriously, it's a mind-blowing idea. And there are people who claim to have evidence for the simulation. They talk about glitches in the matrix, things like deja vu and unexplained coincidences.
Oh yeah, the glitches. And there's even some stuff in quantum mechanics that kind of supports the idea, at least in a way.
Quantum mechanics. You're going to have to break that down for me.
Okay, so one example is quantum entanglement. It's where two particles, even if they're really far apart, can influence each other instantly. It's like they're connected by some invisible force that goes beyond space and time.
That's wild. So some physicists think that could be like evidence of the simulation's code at work.
It's one interpretation, yeah.
Oh,
It's like a peek behind the curtain of reality, maybe.
okay. That's pretty trippy. But you know what? Let's move on to a theory that hits a little closer to home.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one of those moments where you remember something super clearly, but then it turns out you're totally wrong?
Oh, yeah. All the time. It's like my brain is playing tricks on me.
Right. Well, that's kind of what the Mandela effect is all about. It's about shared false memories. Like a lot of people remember something a certain way, but it turns out it never actually happened that way.
Yeah, and the name actually comes from a really common example. A lot of people have this vivid memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
But he actually passed away in 2013. So where did all those memories come from? It's like people are tapping into a different version of history.
Whoa, that's crazy. So like alternate realities then.
It's definitely a possibility. And there are tons of other examples of the Mandela effect, too. Like, do you remember the Berenstain Bears?
Yeah, of course. Wait, was it Berenstain or
A
Berenstain?
lot of people swear it was Berenstain, but it's always been Berenstain. And another one, the Monopoly Man. People think he had a monocle, but if you look at the game, he never did.
Wait, seriously? I could have sworn he had a monocle.
Right. And that's just it. These might seem like small things, but they open up a whole can of worms. Like, are we really shifting between different realities?
Or our memories just messed up. It's hard to say for sure.
Exactly. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of alternate realities, the next theory takes that concept even further to a whole other level, quantum immortality. This one suggests that, well, you might not actually die.
I know, right? It sounds crazy, but it's actually based on a pretty serious interpretation of quantum mechanics called the many worlds interpretation.
Quantum mechanics. You're going to have to bear with me here because that stuff always makes my head spin a little.
No problem, I get it. So the many worlds interpretation, it basically says that every time a quantum event happens, the universe splits. Like, it creates a new timeline for every possible outcome.
Hold on, you're saying that there's a universe out there where I won the lottery last week and another where I became an astronaut.
That's the idea. Basically, there's a version of you for every possible choice you could have made, every path you didn't take.
Whoa, okay. But how does this connect to, like, not dying?
Well, the theory says that when you die in one universe, your consciousness doesn't just disappear. It moves to a universe where you survived. So for you, it would feel like an endless string of close calls.
So it's like playing cosmic Russian roulette, but you always win.
You got it. You'd be hopping from one reality to the next, always experiencing the timeline where you lived.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that those near-death experiences where people say they like saw the light or whatever, maybe they were actually glimpsing these other timelines where they did survive.
It's an interesting thought, right? It kind of makes you wonder if we're all essentially immortal in this way, what does that even mean for the whole concept of life and death?
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. Okay, I think I need a break from the existential crisis for a minute. Let's shift gears to something just as mind-bending, but from a different angle, all right? The holographic universe. This one basically says that reality, everything we see and experience, it's all just a giant hologram.
And a pretty convincing one, too.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. What if all the information about our 3D world, everything we know, is actually encoded on a 2D surface somewhere far away?
So, like, our whole universe is just a projection from another dimension.
Exactly. It's similar to how a hologram works, where you can create a 3D image from information stored on a flat surface.
Whoa, that's wild. But where is this 2D surface then, and what's it made of?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting. Some physicists believe it could be at the edge of the universe, maybe even at the boundary of a black hole.
Hold on, black holes. You mean those cosmic vacuum cleaners that suck up everything in their path? What do those have to do with holograms?
Well, believe it or not, black holes are some of the densest objects in the universe. Like, they hold a ton of information. And the theory is that when stuff falls into a black hole, the information about it isn't destroyed. It gets encoded on the event horizon, which is like the point of no return.
So black holes are like giant cosmic hard drives storing the blueprints for entire universes.
It's a possibility that some physicists are seriously exploring. And if it's true, it raises some really big questions. Like, if we're just projections from this higher dimensional surface, what does that make us, really? What's the real us?
All right, my brain officially needs a reboot after that one. But you know what? We still have one more theory to tackle, and this might be the most mind-blowing of them all. Retrocausality.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
Okay, so retrocausality, it's basically the idea that the future can influence the past. Like, we're talking time travel paradoxes and alternate timelines.
Exactly. It challenges everything we think we know about cause and effect.
So are we talking about sending messages back in time or something like that?
Not quite. It's more about the idea that future events can have a causal influence on past events, like a reverse butterfly effect, you know.
Wait, you mean something I do tomorrow could actually affect something that happened yesterday?
It sounds crazy, right? But there are some hints in quantum mechanics that suggest this might be possible. One example is this experiment called the delayed choice quantum eraser. It's been baffling physicists for decades.
Okay, I am all ears. Tell me more about this quantum eraser thing.
So, in a nutshell, the experiment shows that how we choose to measure a particle in the present can actually seem to affect its properties in the past, even though that event already happened.
Wait, are you serious? You're saying our choices in the present can actually rewrite the past?
It's a really strange and counterintuitive idea, I know. But some physicists think that this experiment is evidence that time isn't as linear as we think it is. Maybe the past, present, and future are all tangled up in ways we can't even imagine.
Whoa, that's both amazing and kind of terrifying. If the future can influence the past, what does that say about free will? I mean, are our choices really ours, or are they determined by events that haven't even happened yet?
It's a question that pushes us to the very limits of what we understand about reality. And honestly, it might be a question without an easy answer.
It definitely makes you think.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder about the whole nature of reality, doesn't it?
It does, and it gets even weirder, trust me.
Okay, bring it on. I'm ready for more.
All right, so we were talking about alternate realities, right? Well, this next theory takes that concept to a whole new level. It's called quantum immortality, and it basically suggests that, well, you might not actually die.
Yeah, I know, right? Sounds crazy, but it's actually based on a serious interpretation of quantum mechanics called the many worlds interpretation.
Okay, see, now you're using words. I don't understand quantum mechanics. Can you, like, break that down for me?
Sure thing. So the many worlds interpretation basically says that every time a quantum event happens, the universe splits. It creates a new timeline for every possible outcome.
So you're saying there's a universe out there where I won the lottery last week, and another where I actually became an astronaut.
That's the idea. There's a version of you out there for every choice you could have made, every path you didn't take.
That's insane. But wait, how does that connect to not dying? Like, I'm still
Okay,
confused.
so the theory says that when you die in one universe, your consciousness doesn't just disappear, it shifts to a universe where you survived. So from your perspective, you never actually experience death, just a continuous series of close calls.
So it's like playing cosmic Russian roulette, but you always win.
Exactly. You're hopping from one reality to the next, always experiencing the timeline where you lived.
Okay, so what about those near-death experiences people talk about, where they see the light or whatever? Could those actually be glimpses into these other timelines where they did survive?
It's a very interesting thought, isn't it? I mean, if we're all essentially immortal in this way, what does that say about life and death? It kind of makes you rethink the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. All right, I think I need to take a step back from the existential crisis for a minute. Let's switch gears to something just as mind-bending, but from a different angle. The holographic universe. This one basically says that reality, everything we see and experience, it's all just a giant hologram.
And a pretty convincing one, too. It makes you wonder, what if all the information about our 3D world is actually encoded on a 2D surface somewhere far away?
So like our entire universe is just a projection from another dimension.
Exactly. Think about how a hologram works. You can create a 3D image from information stored on a flat surface.
Okay, that is wild. But where would this 2D surface even be? What is it made of?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Some physicists think it could be at the edge of the universe, maybe even at the boundary of a black hole.
Hold on, black holes? You mean those cosmic vacuum cleaners that suck up everything? What did those have to do with holograms?
Well, black holes are some of the densest objects in the universe. They contain an incredible amount of information. And the theory is that anything that falls into a black hole,
Hmm.
that information isn't destroyed. It's encoded on the event horizon, which is kind of like the point of no return.
So black holes are like giant cosmic hard drives then, storing blueprints for entire universes.
That's one way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's an idea that some physicists are taking very seriously. And, if it's true, it has some pretty major implications. Like if we're just projections from this higher dimensional surface,
Hmm.
what does that make us? What's the real us,
Whoa, my brain is officially fried after that one. Okay, but we've got one more theory to go, and this might be the most mind-blowing of them all. Retrocausality.
Yeah, this one's a real head scratcher.
Okay, so retrocausality. It's the idea that the future can actually influence the past. Time travel paradoxes, alternate timelines, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. It really challenges how we think about cause and effect. Like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
So are we talking about sending messages back in time or something?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
It's more about the idea that future events can actually cause past events. Like a reverse butterfly effect.
Hold on, so you're saying something I do tomorrow could affect something that happened yesterday?
I know it sounds crazy, but there are some hints in quantum mechanics that suggest it might be possible. One example is an experiment called the delayed choice quantum eraser. It's been puzzling physicists for decades.
Okay, you've got my attention now. Tell me more about this quantum eraser thing.
So to put it simply, the experiment shows that the where we choose to measure a particle now can seem to affect its properties in the past, even though that event already happened.
Wait, seriously, so you're saying our choices in the present can rewrite the past?
It's a wild idea. I know, but some physicists believe this experiment shows that time might not be as linear as we think. Maybe the past, present, and future are all connected in ways we don't fully understand.
That is both fascinating and terrifying. If the future can influence the past, does that mean we even have free will? Or are our choices already determined by things that haven't happened yet?
It's a question that really pushes us to the edge of what we know about reality. And it might be a question without a simple answer.
Definitely makes you think, though. So, we've explored some seriously mind-bending theories today. Everything from simulated universes to the idea that the future can change the past. My head is spinning.
Yeah, it really does make you question everything we think we know about how the universe works.
It does, and it just shows how much we still don't understand about reality.
Exactly. We've just scratched the surface.
I mean, think about it. We've explored some seriously crazy theories today, from simulated universes to the idea that the future can change the past. It's enough to make your head spin.
It really is.
Yeah.
But that's what makes these theories so fascinating. They push us to the very edge of our understanding.
Absolutely. It's like we've taken this whirlwind tour through the fringes of science and philosophy. And it's clear that we've got so much more to learn.
Exactly. And the craziest part is that all of these theories, they're not just some random ideas. They're rooted in real scientific principles. And they're being explored by serious researchers.
That's what blows my mind. Like, it really makes you realize how much we don't know about the universe and the true nature of reality.
Totally. It's humbling and exciting at the same time.
Out of all the theories we talked about today, which one, like, really stuck with you the most?
Hmm, that's a tough one. They're all so interesting in their own way, but I think the one that really grabbed me was quantum immortality. The idea that our consciousness could keep existing even after our bodies die. It's pretty wild.
It definitely makes you think about, life and death and what it all means.
It does it, and it also brings up all sorts of questions about the nature of consciousness. Like, what are we really?
I'm not sure if I'm ready to fully embrace the idea of hopping between realities just yet, though.
That's okay. These theories, they're not meant to be taken as, like, absolute truth. You know what I mean? They're more like thought experiments, ways to stretch our imaginations and explore the possibilities.
It's a good reminder to stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the unknown.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one day we'll have the answers to some of these mind-blowing questions. Or maybe we'll just discover even more mysteries.
Well, I can't wait to see what other wild theories we uncover in our next deep dive.
Me neither. It's going to be a blast.
All right, thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the crazy world of mind-bending theories. Until next time, keep those minds open and keep questioning everything.
Because the more we question, the closer we get to understanding the true nature of reality.
That's right. So until next time, stay curious.